Hi, I'm Ron Gibson, Special Projects Manager here at GEMLUX. We're coming to you today from our warehouse facility here in Jacksonville, Florida. We want to take a few minutes to show you some real quick and easy upgrades you could do to your boat. Today we're showcasing a 25 Contender, a 2000 model, that we're going to put on a new steering wheel. We're going to put on some new rod holders, new latches, and new hinges that you could do yourself on your boat. So we're in the back of the boat now. We're going to show you how to replace a Livewell lid on this 25 Contender using two of our products. We've got the compression latch, and we've also got the friction hinge here that we're going to use for the hinges to replace on this Livewell lid. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take off these 4 screws in the back that's got the two hinges holding down the Livewell lid. We're going to pull this up, put it out of the way. You can make a cheese tray out of it one day if you need to. Just to be sure, we're going to go ahead and dry fit this lid into place just to make sure that we're good. We can see everything sitting just right. Our tolerances are good on the outside. First thing we're going to want to do, we're just going to lay out these hinges and make sure that we're going to cover the existing holes and the existing footprint from the last hinge. Everything looks good. Good part is we can actually reuse 2 of these holes back here if we need to. And then we're going to actually screw these 2 holes in the lid, and then we're going to actually through bolt this one here. And the reason we're only going to through bolt this front one is we're not going to have enough clearance on the bottom side of this lid in order to put a backing nut to through bolt there. So we're actually going to just screw those in, and then we'll silicone this latch to the top of the Livewell lid, and then we're going to 5200 the back of this latch onto the back so that we get 1, a good seal, and 2, we get a really good tight fit on that. Any kind of straight edge of work, as long as you trust it, yardstick, anything like that. We just happen to have a shorter version off of a yardstick here that's perfectly straight, and I'm going to be able to lay this up here and kind of be able to look down, and whether I want to set it on the center axis of the latch or lay it on below it, but I can see that we're going to be just perfect for that to be right. One of the things that's really super important to remember in putting in these friction hinges, and this is of the utmost importance, in order for these friction hinges to do their job and to work at 100% efficiency, we need to make sure that these 2 hinges are exactly parallel to each other. Meaning we want to make sure that they line up exactly parallel. And we're going to make this fit a little bit better once we get closer to it, but I just wanted you guys to be aware, in order for this application to work properly, we've got to make sure that these 2 friction hinges are laying parallel. We can't have one cockeyed to the other or kicked off to one side. They've got to be truly parallel in order for this hinge to work properly. And let you know that these hinges are not adjustable. The way they come is the way that they're set. So now that we've got these back 2, we're going to hold these just like they are. I want to mark the 3 holes on either side of these right here so that we can get those drilled out and get the screws put in and get the through bolts put in. So I'm just going to take a pencil and make myself a little mark. Now ordinarily in this circumstance, you would really want to through bolt these hinges on the back side, not only on the back side of the lid, but on the front side. But because of the way this Livewell is configured, there's really no way to get underneath in here to the back side to get a nut on it and to be able to get a wrench on it to tighten them down. So we're going to have to go with screwing these down and then 5200 in these down to the top of the gunnel. So for right now, we're going to do just a dry fit to make sure that everything's going to line up just right before we go putting any bedding compound down. So we've got both friction hinges. We've got them level to each other, as we can see by the straight edge right here. So I've got them made fast down on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and drill out my top screw on this side and my top screw on this side, and then we'll get this thing made fast. And then once we get these tight, then we'll worry about attaching the hinge to the Livewell lid itself. So before I go ahead and put any bedding compound down, I just want to go ahead and dry fit this into place. Make sure everything's going to be just like I want it before I get a whole lot of 5200 down, and then I've got to deal with that pulling the hinge back out. So everything looks good. We'll go ahead and pull these out. Now, because I'm a little bit picky in how I like for mine to end up, we've got a few of these heads that got a little bit reamed out from the cordless drill. This one being reamed out a little bit and that one still being good. So this is a good time when you go to rebed and put these down to go ahead and get some fresh screws, and we're actually going to drive these in by hand as opposed to using a cordless drill to put them in. That way we don't strip the heads of them out. So if we have to pull them out later, they're a whole lot easier to get out. So go ahead and get a little bit around on our hinge. And we'll just help them match up to the holes where they're at. Get them started kind of finger tight. And like I said, we'll just use a hand screwdriver and go ahead and get them pulled down tight the rest of the way. Now I'm a little bit picky with mine. I like to try to line up my heads and my screws all in the same direction. That doesn't mean anything different, better or worse. Just one of those habits. We don't want to pull down real tight. There's no sense, especially with fiberglass, taking a screw and jamming it down as tight as we can. Just get as good as hand tight as you can get it, and then let the 5200 do the rest of the work. Not only is it going to help hold the hinge down, but it's also going to help hold that screw into place so it doesn't back out. Same thing on this one. We'll get two of them started. Any two, doesn't really matter. Two of them is a lot easier to line up than three. Got a good ooze. All right, so we got our hinges installed on the back side. We've got the front side of our hinges drilled out to where we want them. So we want to put a little bit of silicone on here to bed these before we fasten them down with our fasteners. Really no graceful way to do this. Pick up on our hinge just a little bit. We can slide that into place. Get it lined up like we want. Get these lined up. Push it back down. I'm going to go ahead and just ease these in with them to get them started, and then we'll finish them by hand. Go ahead and hand tighten these down tight. Flip this open. We got plenty of screw. Get these guys started. Yeah. Boom. Clean that up. So we've got the hinge already fastened down. Got the silicone on, got it cleaned up, got them made down tight all the way. We're gonna let these sit overnight and let that 5200 bond in the back pull really tight, because we weren't able to through bolt that in the back. So because we had to screw it, let's let that sit overnight and tight, and then we will attack getting the compression latch put on and finish this job up. So here we are the next morning. We're going back to our Livewell lid. We've installed our friction hinges. We've allowed some time for the bedding material to set, and so we've got that good and tight. And we're going to get ready to install our compression latch. So each GEMLUX compression latch is going to come with several items. You get the latch itself. It's going to come with a backing nut, a locking nut for the bottom of the threaded shaft. We've got an offset cam. It's going to come with a straight cam. We've got a spacer. We've got our backing plate with our two machine screws. And it's also going to come with a gasket material that you could place on your compression latch like this. But as we said before, we would much rather bed this with either a silicone or a 5200 or a 4200 to get a better seal. But what we don't want to do on this clear plastic acrylic is we don't want to use 4200. So we're going to use some clear silicone for this application, just like we did on the hatch side of this hinge. Clear. We're going to get it all the way around so that we get a good tight fit and we get plenty of it on there. So we've spent a little bit of time, each of these kits, it's going to take a little bit of time just to play with getting whether you want to use the straight cam or you want to use the offset cam, in order to account for the varying thicknesses of the gutter or the drain side or the lid, hatch lid for this. So it's really just going to take a little bit of time of threading these on, putting them in place, turning them and getting them set where you want. But for this particular application, we've decided we're going to go with the angled cam for this. It's going to get us our best compression to be able to pull this Livewell lid down tight onto the gasket material, because the whole purpose of having this compression latch is to pull this lid down completely tight so that we get a nice tight seal all the way around the lid. So if we're back here sitting in our bean bags riding out in the morning and we've got the Livewell going, people aren't getting salt spray down the back of their shirt on the way out. So we're going to go ahead and slide this into place, and I'm going to go ahead and have this latch so that the top of the latch is facing the stern of the boat. Slide it in, hold it tight, and then we're going to come up with our backing plate and get it into place and carefully get our machine screws started. All we're going to do is get these pulled down tight. What we don't want to do is ram this in with the cordless screwdriver and pull these threads down too tight and strip the threads out, or even worse, strip the head of the screw out. This will work just fine. It's good hand tight. We'll make sure we got it centered like we want it. Looks pretty good to me. Just go ahead and give it one last turn, good hand tight. Will be just fine, plus you've also got the silicone helping to hold this in place when it sets. That way we can lift it, turn it. And typically on a compression latch, sometimes you may have to put a little bit of pressure with your hand to push down on the lid, turn it into place. And then what's going to happen inside this, inside the rod of this latch, there's a spring mechanism that when we push the pull back down, it's going to pull this cam back up, and the whole hence the whole term of the compression latch. It's going to compress this lid onto the gasket material. So as we push it down, we got a nice tight fit. Can't push on it. We're going to take 1 extra second. Go ahead and clean up our silicone mess. That looks good to me, so we're going to let that set just in place with the compression on it. That's definitely going to help with the bedding of our silicone to pull down tight between the flange of this latch and the lid itself. And we're ready to go.